Hi, this is Melanie of Pardesi Reviews, and I'm here with Kathy of Cinemondo Podcast together. We're going to talk about the 2012 Tamil film Pizza.
Love the title.
That's the
title's like Pizza. Everybody's like, you gotta watch Pizza. I'm like, seriously, that does not sound.
I know. Try to Google it, right?
It's impossible. So you have to add all these extra.
Yeah, you have to say
Pizza,
Vijay
Sethupathi, DJ. Exactly, we did all the same searching.
So I actually keep a diary of my movie watching on a website called Letterboxd. So I was able to look up when did I first see this movie, and it's May of 2016. So it's been 7 years since I've seen this film. Wow. And it was really fun to see it again. It was really fun to revisit. And especially because I've become such a fan of Vijay Sethupathi, and you go back and you're like, oh my God, he's a baby.
No,
I know he's an adult man, but I'm just saying,
But I didn't recognize him. Like, I saw the poster,
that's the thing.
I watched the trailer. Yeah. I did not know it was him until I saw the name. I went, wait, where? Where was he? What? I was very confused by that.
Because I think the next film that I saw of his was Vikram Vedha, which came out, I don't remember if that was 2000, whatever. It was a couple of years later. And so it was just very, very different look, just in time of when I saw it. That it was probably a 5-year span from when he made the two films. But I'm just saying, for me, it was at least a year or two apart. And so I literally was like, wait a minute, that was the same guy from Pizza?
It was very disorienting for me because I've only been watching a lot of Indian cinema within the last year and a half. Mm-hmm. So when I was seeing Vikram and Super Deluxe, that's how I saw him. And I saw him way later in his career, in a way, he's been playing the heavy in a lot of things. And so when I saw that, I was not.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's only been that amount of time between that actor and the one I'm seeing, because he looks so different. He got more muscular. He seemed a lot huskier.
Yeah.
So when I saw him in that, he's this little squirrely, skinny guy. I was like, what? He's so cute, though.
He is. Very cute. So this 2012, when this movie came out, was a turning point in Vijay Sethupathi's career, because he had 3 big movies that came out that year for him. I think he had a lead part in a film before that, but mostly he had done supporting roles in other films. But this was a real turning point for him. So he paired up with 2 debut directors, and both of these films were blockbuster. This film with Karthik Subbaraj was the director of Pizza. And then there was another film, I'm going to murder this, I'm sorry, Nadavala Kanjam Pakata Kanam. And the director of that was Balaji Taranitharan. So in that one, it's a comedy based on something that happened in real life to either the director or one of his friends. So in the comedy film, basically, I remember it as Enache, because he said that means what happened. And so that's
funny.
So he has 2 days before his wedding in this comedy, he has a head injury and can't remember anything, and has this short-term memory loss too, where he keeps sort of waking up every 15 minutes, and it's like, what happened? And then his friends are trying to get him through this wedding so that his bride doesn't know. And because everything is all set up, and it just So, but he plays the main character in that has a head injury, and so all of his friends are trying to rally around so that his life doesn't collapse. And then, which couldn't be more completely opposite from this film,
right?
And I just think his performance in this film, because essentially you think about the lion's share of the film, of the horror parts, is him alone and his reactions to what is happening. Okay, so again, it's Karthik Subbaraj, who is a director. He's gone into acclaim. He is a huge fan of the superstar Rajnikanth. So watching it again the second time, that's the films that were playing on the TV, right?
Right. Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Right. So he's playing
so
an homage to him. There may even have been a poster on the wall at some point. But Vijay Sethupathi plays Michael, who is a pizza delivery man. That's the title, right? Goes to this house.
I'm dying to try an Indian pizza. Like when I was in India, I didn't get any Indian pizza, but I would love to try it.
Interesting, right?
So good. I was like,
I love the one guy who orders in English with extra pepperoni or whatever it was, and then they were like, "What?
Pepperoni?" I know it looks really good though. I want to. Next time I go to India, I'm definitely hitting that shit up.
But it was also wasn't your reaction also that it was much smaller?
It was small.
Here.
Yes, definitely. But we have kind of the single little pizzas here too. Like that's kind of the trendy thing now because they can charge more for less.
I guess that's true. Yeah, but anyway, the setup is that he goes to a house to deliver a pizza and then he can never leave. Right?
That the reason this film really worked, it worked on a few levels, and we're going to talk spoilers and things like that.
That's we're massively. This is a film that's 11 years, 13 years out, but definitely there's going to be plenty of spoilers.
I would highly, highly recommend you guys do not watch this review until you've seen the movie because part of what's so fantastic and why I love this movie is the twist. All right.
Yes.
So one thing I loved about it, because I love horror. Horror is my thing. The thing they played with on this I thought was so smart is they did what you were talking about. Isolation horror. They got him inside, just him alone, inside an area. And I was kind of in a way kind of like relaxed into the movie of like, okay, this is going to be like a ghost. He's going to be trapped in here with the ghost. There's going to be some shenanigans, running around trying to figure out how to escape the ghost, how to deal with the ghost, what to do. And I loved that. I thought this is the movie. So I was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna watch this movie. So I thought I had it all figured out. Oh yeah, this is what this is gonna be, and then people are gonna try and help him, and they won't be able to. I loved the kind of 911 call that made no sense. They were like, "What's happening?" So I love that. I love the fact that it looked like he'd murdered people. When the cops came. So that was fantastic.
The time skip and all of that.
Oh, so good.
Like so suddenly the door opens and there's police tape on the door and all of that. Yeah.
And he looked so guilty. He was acting so weird. And they're like, "What is up?" He's, "No, it's this ghost." They're like, mentally ill, whatever. So I love that because I just thought this is our movie. This is what it is. When it took that turn, I was blown away. Like all of a sudden and we can get into that later.
Yeah.
What I loved about Vijay is that he played it like he was a super naive, he's just getting by. He's really sweet, and his girlfriend and his relationship, they spent a lot of time setting that up. Probably a little too much time, but they spent a lot of time trying to get them together. And I'm kind of going, okay, I guess this relationship is important.
Well, how about the first fake out? The opening credits, we're watching something.
That's right.
We're watching sort of Ghost Hunter kind of thing with that green.
I love that too. Where's that?
The night vision.
I want that.
And then I'm like, and I was sucked in again because I forgot that from watching it 7 years ago. I was completely sucked in again. I'm like, okay, this is like fantastic news footage or something, right? Like, and then all of a sudden it's the two of them in bed and they're watching a movie.
And I love that too because I was shocked because I'm like, I can't believe Melanie's suggesting a found footage film to me. That seems very advanced horror viewing for someone to, And so I'm watching it going, wow, found footage in India. This is amazing. Like I thought this is what it's going to be. I was so into it. And then when it was a fake out, I was like, oh, that's really cool. But please still do this movie. I want to see this found footage fake out movie. Please make this.
I know, it's sort of like it was like a Blair Witch Project kind of
so good.
Feel, right? Totally.
It was so good. And I was so invested. What happened to those characters? Wanted to know. So that should include me in, but it didn't. See, I thought I was all ahead of it. Like, oh, I'm the horror fan. I know what's going to happen. I get this wired. So that's what was so great about it. So the first half of the movie, it is a movie that you expect. It had some good ghost stuff. It had some kind of cool, being accused of murder he didn't commit. It was like a lot of and then I love that they made sure, it's just great filmmaking because you don't notice it at the time. It was kind of like Sixth Sense where you don't realize till later that Bruce Willis was never talking to anyone else in the room. But so
yeah.
So anyway, we won't spoil Sixth Sense right now, but I love how you don't see his girlfriend really interacting with any other people really besides him. Like they keep her at home. She's frustrated. She has to be home. She doesn't want to be at home. She gets pregnant, the whole thing. And he's like, oh my God. So I love that. Like you don't see her with his friends. So when that twist comes, okay, so we're going into the movie now. So we've got the ghost. We got this great isolation horror. He's trapped inside the house. It's locked from the outside, which was really weird. Like who locks their house from the outside? So then he's trapped in there. He can't get out. And that was a great puzzle trying to figure that out. Then the twist. Fill us in, Melanie.
Well, then we're like, he gets this phone call, or well, no, actually, he pulls over for a delivery and he switches the SIM card of his cell phone.
Which I was like, what's this? What's happening?
Right. And he suddenly switches his cell phone and he, SIM card so that he can make an anonymous call to his girlfriend, who is in some sort of tropical resort or whatever.
And she's like, when are you coming? And I'm like, wait, did I miss something? What's happening here? So weird.
Right. And she's like, when are you coming? And he's just, and then the pieces fall in that I knew some of that was coming. So it was kind of delightful seeing in the second time, seeing some of the setup, because you see the boss that owns the pizza store has all of these charms and like religious, and it seems to be very superstitious, has a mentally disturbed daughter who he has brought in some sort of faith healer or something to try to reach his daughter, because whatever other methods they're trying, nothing is working.
She's possessed.
And Nithya, right?
And who was seen.
Right. And then also there's some sort of money laundering or something going on. Like we kind of see, as Michael's going in and out of deliveries, he's overhearing some phone conversations that his boss is having, or snippets of them, which at the time don't mean anything to us until suddenly.
Another thing, like, it just shows you how lazy you can get watching a movie. Like, I felt so like unobservant because I wasn't catching these little clues.
But that's because it was
the whole way through. So well
made. That's because it was so well done.
Deceptively well done. They tried to make it look like this low budget cheesy horror movie, and it totally tricked me.
It still is a low budget cheesy horror
so great.
And that's what's so awesome, because it's so well written. I mean, this is written and directed by Karthik Subbaraj, and when you're doing a debut movie, you put your entire heart and soul into it, right? Like, he really worked on this script so that it was fantastic.
So fun.
Okay. And also because, again, if you think about how many sets were there was their house. Basically, there was their house, there was the pizza store, and there was the haunted house. That's it.
Yep.
I mean, the haunted house was kind of a really nice, fancy house, and it had all of this extremely creepy artwork, which was even more creepy, like little statues and whatever that were even more creepy once the lights went out. But if you think about it, there were no special effects.
No,
right? It's not like we're seeing, I don't know,
spirits or something,
or anything like that. No. We're seeing the lights go off and a guy go around with a flashlight like this, literally.
I know.
We're just seeing a flashlight.
And even in this big fancy house, they kept it pretty contained. We saw the big main entryway and the living room, and then the bedroom is basically almost it, maybe the kitchen. And so even though
I still don't kind of know the floor plan, because he was
I was trying.
I'm like, is he going downstairs? Is he what?
It seems to go everywhere.
Right.
So like you were saying, so there's the money laundering thing happening, and so then in a way it kind of starts over again.
Yeah. Well, we get flashbacks. We see certain scenes again from a different perspective, and then
there was that one little bridge where he goes to his friends and he's melting down, freaking out, saying, "I've got to talk to my girlfriend." They're like, "Have you ever heard of this girlfriend?" And no, I've never seen this girlfriend. I think he's crazy. What's he talking about? Like, all of a sudden, then you doubted it, even though we saw her. You're like, was he being an unreliable narrator? Does this person exist? Like, who's he talking to? Like, so I love that too. Like, all of a sudden, I got very disoriented. Like, wait, this movie's taking a turn. What is happening? It was a great. Like, it sort of like literally pulled the rug out from under you, and you kind of went, "Whoa, I'm off balance. What's happening?" And, what? And so you're seeing it from their perspective, going, "Is this guy crazy?" And then you're like, "Is he crazy?"
Right.
And it was much more nefarious than that.
Yeah, because he when he was supposed to make this delivery that we saw that takes him to the haunted house, his boss had asked him to take this package of candy to his home. Well, inside the package of candy, like, I can't remember, he fell over, something happened with his bike, I don't even remember. Yeah. But anyway, everything fell out, and as his girlfriend is helping him put back everything, he's like, "Check the pizza. Is the pizza okay?" And then she's putting everything back, and she's like, "Oh, what is this little bag of diamonds?"
This could solve a lot of our problems. Here we go. We're worried about supporting a child. We want to have a life together. We want to get married. I love their marriage ceremony. We're married. Done. Okay. That's like, so what do we do now? It's like, diamonds. So what do you do? There. I love that too. That's our turning point with every great heist film. you get a choice. You're going to just give it back and just avoid the trouble, or are you going to try and solve all your problems and do the wrong thing? Guess what they pick? I love that. I was
and
like,
I also
no,
love, how they had set us up at the beginning that she's writing a novel. She's a writer. She's a writer of stories. She wants to write horror. So that's why she's watching we see like the DVD cases, The Shining, whatever.
I love that too.
She's been researching, and he's been there right along with her, watching the movies with her. She's been writing, but I mean, because seems to come up, I don't know if they come up with it together, or if he embellishes are all his own, because he's seen all of these stories. He's seen all of these horror films, or she's told him, like they show all the novels she's been reading.
Yep.
They've obviously been discussing it, and been discussing her novel as she's been writing it. So he kind of knows, okay, this is how you set these things up, right? Like, but it's the acting of Vijay Sethupathi that completely sells it. Sells it.
Because you're on board for him either way. Like,
you're
like, okay, exactly. I'll buy it. I'll buy this. Wait, he's making a bad decision, but I'm all for it. And I love too how you were talking about, like, you're watching horror, which I thought was like, okay, this is a horror movie and we have horror fans. Another lazy assumption by me, going, oh, it's so cute that they're giving a call out to horror films. They're watching horror films. This couple is into horror. That's so cute. Well, no, it's not that simple, is it? No, it matters. And that's what I love too. All these little things we took for granted mattered. So like you're saying, they're like, you know what we need to do? Let's set this shit up like it's a ghost story. And they knew it all because they'd seen all these movies.
Right.
They're so great. So the scam begins. Then we start and the movie becomes a heist film, which I thought was so crazy. Because I thought, you mean it's not real? What?
Although they do give us like another fake out in the last couple minutes of, is it real? Because then he delivers another pizza, and there's that girl that he saw that was the ghost,
Yeah, that's right. I wanted to ask you about that. So it seemed like he kept stalling his girlfriend. I'll be there soon. I got things to do. It's to be there soon. Because she takes off and she's waiting for him to come. He has to tie up his, I saw a ghost, I'm crazy, what's happening? And what diamonds? I don't know what diamonds, a ghost, I don't know. So he's trying to cover his tracks, to cover his crime. And then he goes back to delivering pizzas, which I thought was really weird. Like, what happened there?
Right. Yeah, the whole ending is kind of weird. And I felt like the writer-director just wanted to give us one final scare and possibly set up for a sequel, I guess. I mean, I don't know,
Then I'm thinking, was this all just a story? Like, was this a story that his girlfriend wrote? Or maybe it's a dream he was having? Like, so there were so many levels to the interpretation of this movie. But what I loved about it was, we start off as a horror film, pretty straightforward horror film, Ghost, which I would have loved seeing this full trapped in a house thing, which is great. I want to see the found footage show they were watching made into a movie. And then we basically have 3 movies. So then we have the second half, which becomes a heist film, another huge favorite of mine. So we have a heist, how to solve how to commit the perfect crime and get away.
I mean, it's like Kaiser Sose or something, right? Like,
I
mean, it's like Unusual Suspects. It's like all the things that you thought were from a certain perspective. Now we're seeing them from a different perspective, and this person that we trusted is now an unreliable narrator. And we're like, what?
I know. And we're still rolling with it. And then at the end, we're still not sure who's telling the truth, what's happening. So even if you only watch half the movie, you've seen a great movie. And then you see the second half, you've seen another super fun heist movie. Then if you add that thing on at the end, you have the confusing little full circle. Did we go back to the beginning? Like, is this a new ghost? It's a ghost story becoming real now. Like we're going to fake a ghost story. And you find it actually was real, because the possessed daughter was kind of an interesting, mentally ill daughter. That was a weird one too, because I couldn't tell, did he play into that more? Like, she's seen you. Like, that was sort of the scam, right? She's seen you. Oh, I know, I'm haunted now. Was that real? Like,
or that he based his whole ghost story on a house that everyone had been talking about, was where something really had happened. All these murders had really happened.
Perfect.
So did something with that trigger, because he was sending people there and whatever, or that left his bike there, whatever, that did he trigger something by making up stories about it, or he must have read about it or talked to people and knew sort of the basis of it. But then there's another mystery, like what really happened, right? So Or did those spirits take vengeance because he was, using their name?
Right.
I don't know. Like, that's the thing.
It's like, oh, you're pretending like we're real. Hey, guess what? We're real.
Yeah.
You've been abusing us by using us as a scam, and now we're gonna really haunt you. That's a great twist too. I mean, so many
because
twists.
it was the little girl that he saw in the house that is the one that he sees at the end.
That's right.
So it could be the girl's ghost or what. Like, yeah, I mean, I just love that here it's this little 2-hour movie and we're sitting here debating all of these possibilities, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's so good.
It's so good. And I think part of it too is because I feel like I have literally seen every horror movie known to man. I feel like I know every trick in the book. I know where a movie's going to go. It's really hard at some point to do new horror. So whenever anytime one does that, whenever a movie tricks me, confounds my expectations, is smarter than me, it's like all of these things. And it was a gentle kind of like, there was no big gore. It's not a big gory movie.
No.
It's not really trying to be super terrifying. It's trying to be creepy and then ease you in. So any movie that can pull that off, I'm always like super impressed because like, okay, this guy obviously loves horror, knows how to play with the conventions of it, knows where people think you're going, how to confound that expectation, how to satisfy them, because him going up and finding the murder victim, like hanging on a wall, that was a great scary moment. Like they didn't even like pretend like, oh, we're just gonna be lazy about this horror, but no, they made it really good. Like this is good horror. And so I was like,
well, and also I loved how so many horror films now, or if you're watching a classic film and you're like, okay, if they had cell phones, all of this falls apart.
Right.
And I loved how they dealt with that issue, right? And that his cell phone wasn't working, or he was getting the weird thing. He was freaking out because the house phone was ringing,
right?
But it was people trying to call his cell phone. And then that was just creeping him out right there. And also, it was like he couldn't call out, or if things would be like, I loved how they dealt with that the whole cell phone and his inability to call out, or hearing the phone alarm, phone dial tone of the wife of the house. Hearing her phone go off added to the creepiness. Like it was all folded in instead of being like, okay, all this would solve if his phone battery hadn't died. No.
Right. Yeah. Or, oh, no cell service. But no, they played around with that aspect of like where the phone calls are coming in. How are they coming in? Dial tones, like all these things that you think it'll rescue me. I'll just make a call. It all became part of the problem, which I thought was so smart.
Right. Like he's trying to call the police or whatever. And like nothing, or people are like, his boss is like, where are you? Why haven't you come back to the store? And he's like, I'm trapped. I can't get out.
And they're like, what? What do you mean you can't get out? And then I love people coming to the door like, "Rrr." And even he was scary, like, who's this guy like coming to the door? Like he's like, let me in. And you think, oh no, I look like I'm total scammer in here. Pizza guy.
And he's like, well, go up to get the key. I love that. Go up. And then he's like, there's the gun in the drawer. And I'm like, oh man.
Oh no.
Like, because you just know something's gonna happen with that gun.
Not good. When you show a gun in the first act, you're gonna see that gun again. It was so good. So that's what I loved about this movie, is it played around with everything, all the film genres, all the little tiny tricks that you think you know where it's going, and then they flop them back on you, and then you like what, and so by the end of it, you're like, I just saw something really new. I did not expect it.
I mean, I was hoping you were going to love it as much as I do, because I'm not a horror person, and I know you are someone that loves it. For you to be suckered in, and for you to be fooled, and for you to find it so delightful is just so great. And that was the thing. I think we watched 96.
Yep.
And like, and then I was like, well, what else is, and then I was like, pizza. Pizza, of course.
It's Vijay in a horror film. It's like the perfect movie for me.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I want. I know. So if you've gotten this far, hopefully you've already seen it. But I mean, I want to watch it again. I feel like it's almost in a way spoiler proof, because you almost appreciate it. Like you were saying on the second round, you start.
Like I said, I had forgotten certain details, like the opening credit sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of like, but then I knew the scam was coming. So it was delightful to see how certain things were set up. But even so, I just watching Vijay Sethupathi, who we're used to seeing as this badass villain frequently, right? to be the scared, stuttering, just completely selling us on the fear.
Yep.
And also, when we're even seeing the flashbacks of him scamming his boss and whatever, just seeing how he could play it both ways in some of those scenes, it was masterful. So
it's that classic, like you gotta just impress upon everyone that they need to underestimate you everywhere, because no one would expect this guy who seemed like this, like, that he could pull off a scam. So his boss didn't super respect him. No one expected him to do anything crazy. He was just making pizza. He's kind of a dork, it's like, so that's why I loved is he did come off as that until you saw him not be that. And you're like, oh my God, it's all an act. Oh my God.
Well, the other thing is horror always, frequently you can talk about societal things and critique society. I mean, think about frequent films like Nope and whatever. Like, I mean, we have that, Black filmmakers now making horror that is really commenting on racism and other things. Especially so I was thinking about, what is the setup of this film? Why are they doing the scam? It's because his girlfriend unexpectedly gets pregnant, and then he doesn't feel that he's ready to get married, but he kind of feels like, okay, like it's like he's not ready to be an adult, right? He's just delivering pizzas. How am I gonna support a family on this? Like, what, right?
Yep.
And so you think about what is scaring him in this house, right? He's scared by the temptation. At first, the woman comes to the door in a robe. Like having just had a shower. So he's scared of this temptation. Am I really ready to be married to one woman and give up all other women? Right. So that's part of it. Yep. And also, what is the creepiest thing in the entire thing? The child.
Yep.
The child is the creepiest thing. Point. Right. And so again, it's his if you think about it, he's the one that created the ghost story, right?
He's manifesting all of his fears.
He's manifesting all of his fears. And things that he's going through in the ghost story that he's writing. And that, you know what I mean? And you see that a lot, right? Like, I mean, we could talk about 80s Hollywood where always the teens having sex are the ones that get killed right away.
They must be punished.
They must be punished.
And it's like, and we'll be like super gross and sexist about it, but at the end we'll let the girl live, so that way you don't think bad of us. Like, okay. Even though you just exploited women the whole way, but that's all right.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, there's societal things that can be explored as you're just having a fun horror film, right? And that's true about, all different horror films, but it's also a perfect genre for a debut director. I think you would agree because
it is
with good writing, like, he didn't need to have special effects. Nope. He didn't have to have a big star. The story sells it.
That's right.
Right. In fact, it was probably better that it wasn't a big star at the time. That was because
that can be distracting.
But also we were completely suckered into the first half of the film. We never even suspected. Like the Vijay Sethupathi now, we might be like, this is too simple. There's got to be something else going on.
Guy is going to be this hapless. Right. And just be this helpless and not be able to handle it. And this is the guy seems like he should be in charge. I mean, that was sort of my complaint with 96, because like I said, I was weaned on the later Vijay Sethupathi because he was always in charge, bad guy. So when I saw him in 96, I'm like, not buying it. So if I'd seen him in this movie, I'd be like, seriously? I don't think so. So the second half would make sense to me. Whereas I'd be skeptical in the first half what was happening, because I feel like he wouldn't be this like silly pizza guy who was kind of didn't know what to do. It just wouldn't make it'd be like, oh, let's make Leonardo DiCaprio this loser pizza delivery. No one will see the twist coming. Oh yeah, really? Okay. The Leonardo DiCaprio is going to have to do something big at the last second half of this movie. So something's going to happen.
Yeah, that's the thing, because he picked somebody who was not an unfamiliar face. People had seen him, I think, in other films, but it still had that we could just get totally suckered in because he didn't have all that star baggage yet about him. And it's interesting. I was looking for the posters, and I really wanted to talk to you about them. So here's, I think, the most famous one. And so if you think about this, they're not showing the star's face.
Nope.
Right? Because they're just kind of showing this creepy vibe, and it's about it's about a pizza delivery guy, right? Like that's why it's called that, but it's showing the creepy vibe. But I think it's just so interesting now because we're not seeing his face, right?
He's not even listed in the credit. Like, you don't even see his name
didn't
at the
even
top or
notice
anything. So he's not the star. Like, he's not the star. He's not the selling point in this. And then they have, first of all, it's an illustration, which is also kind of rare technically in horror movies. They just don't do it very often. And so I like that because they make it a little comic booky.
Yeah.
And they may have done it too because they had the concept but not the photography. So we'll just create it, what we don't have, which is a lot of times why you do it. Then we have the ghost kind of in the title, it looks like, sort of a ghosty visual. So they're kind of like, he looks like he's walking into the light, so it feels a little like he's going to his death or something in a super creepy neighborhood. So there's a lot of fun. Like, this is a really good illustration. I really like it. And the bag on the bike is so prominent. It's like it's like that, the delivery aspect is the whole point of this. So this is full on horror movie right here, like a fun horror movie, because they're not trying to be scary.
I think this is one of the best, frankly, one of the best Indian posters, but it's interesting really because there is no star. No. And then they play on the pizza thing. I love this. This is kind of showing, and look how everybody basically almost has equal billing because they're all kind of, it's all the supporting actors. And again, we don't see the main stars. I guess he's that top slice, but the person opening the box we don't see their face.
It looks like that person's dead also. It looks like they're kind of sitting in the chair dead. You see blood sitting there, and his hands are really limp, and he's only eating one piece. And it's not even
you're noticing all of these things. You're right. So it's like the pizza sauce looks like blood up there.
Yeah, it does. It definitely. And I actually know that blood splat. I recognize it from stock. Like, that's the only photographic element. It's like, okay.
And then I don't know if this one was put out for when it was. It says pizza in 3D, so I don't know if it was in 3D. I don't know if it was, but anyway, it's just, and it's interesting. Like, this was the other movie that came out. So that one, it does have his face, and it's kind of showing like he's out of it, right?
Definitely.
But,
like he's all starstruck.
This is again to discuss, like, look how cute he is.
I still don't even recognize him in this. He looks so young. I can recognize his lips.
It's the same thing, but he just has a completely different.
That is funny.
Vibe in that. But anyway, it's so good. The first illustrated poster, I think, is the
really
best.
Good. Great colors too. Great use.
Yeah, it's like your point of it being like a cartoon or a webcomic or something like that. Yeah. And I assume that this is an original story. Maybe it was based on a webcomic. I don't know. But this director went on to do another horror film, which was not as successful. It's called Mercury. And what's interesting about it, it was a silent film.
What?
So, yes. So
like a for real silent film? What?
Because Prabhu Deva is the lead character, and all of the other actors are deaf, so they only speak in sign language.
That's cool. It didn't work. It wasn't good.
It was really, it's trippy, but it was not like the viral sensation that pizza was, right? Yeah. Don't cry any tears over Karthik Subbaraj, because they went on to do a film with Rajnikanth. He finally got to work with his favorite star, and they did a film together called Petta, not a horror film, but an extremely fun film. So
that's no crying tears. Oh my God. Well, he knew he was taking a chance by doing a film like that. Like, sometimes you get that early success and you want to do that kind of radical shift of this film. You knew you could get away with it because you got a little prestige now, but not so much that you're going to waste everybody's money.
That was like his third or fourth film. Like, his film after this, which I'm not sure I've seen, Jigartanda. So he had the script for that one in his mind.
Yeah.
And he couldn't afford to do it. So he did Pizza first. His second film is the much bigger blockbuster. But so anyway, really interesting filmmaker and really creative writer, because this script is just one of the best. Like,
what's his most recent film now? What's the last film he did?
He did, during the pandemic, he did he did one of an anthology film, and I'm blanking on the name of the
Oh,
anthology, but it's like it just came directly to streaming,
okay.
and I think he may have done a web series or something, but I actually don't
Hmm.
know if viewers who are watching this, tell us, what is Karthik Subbaraj working on now? We wanna know
Yeah.
what's his next film and who is he working with? I'd love to know that, because it's just it's just great.
So good.
Sorry, excuse me. Anyway,
Could edit
I
that.
knew you loved this one. I was
I
hoping
loved
you
it.
would. I
I
mean, so
did.
picture me not a horror person. I do distinctly remember the first time I watched this, and I watched it at home. I remember it being so intense.
I remember you're
And
saying,
this
"It's so scary. I don't think I can watch it again."
it was so it did help kind of know that he was gonna live in the end, like,
That's true.
right?
Yeah, you kinda knew that some salvation was coming. Sort of,
Like, let
maybe.
my BJ live. But I think it was after he saw her on the wall or whatever. Like that's about
Oh, yeah.
almost halfway, and I would like I had to kind of like stop the film and take a
It was
break
a
for a
great
second. It was
horror
like,
moment. It was a great because it was super freaky looking. I mean, I was like, "Oh, okay." So that was good. You
yeah.
just don't expect it, especially a little low budget movie like that. And they
I know,
did
and
really good job with it.
you just think about the lighting, and I also think about the house had a lot of weird sort of
Yeah.
curtains over
Mhm.
sort of like metal gates. It was
Yeah.
I still kind of don't in my head can't really draw the how the house works, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
It
it
kinda
just
worked
had
in his favor 'cause I feel like you were disoriented like he was because you
yeah,
didn't know where things were, and I liked that the camera didn't let you get to know exactly where you were because he didn't know exactly where he was. So it was kind of
yeah.
a smart way to make it feel obscure and weird and, like, where would he go next? Like, I'd be going in the wrong rooms all the time, like, "Where am I supposed to where's this woman? Where did I leave that thing?" And you're looking around like, "Oh." So it was a kinda smart way to do it because, yeah, you were kinda like, "What the hell is this house?" It's very
I mean, it
strange.
was sort of I don't know, not a split level, but it's sort of like been up half a flight of stairs and
Yeah.
now I'm on a different, I don't know. It was just
It
kind
was
of
very
strange.
strange. Yeah.
And the artwork, like whoever his
Yeah.
production designer was,
Yeah.
kudos to you,
Oh,
okay?
so good.
Because things that like first impression, oh, this is a wealthy woman's house.
Yeah.
Because you're like, look at all this art and statuary, but you're not really looking at it because that you're focusing on her and she's getting
Yeah.
the change and all of this awkwardness, right?
Yep.
And it's only like you're only really noticing it when the lights are off and the flashlight is going
Yeah.
around or the candle. And
Yeah.
it everything then looks super creepy. And
Yeah,
like
it
I
starts like,
specifically noticed, like she had that weird painting
yeah.
of the child trapped behind bars or
What the
whatever,
hell was
right?
that? It's so
Yeah, I
weird.
mean, it was like the spirit was of the child, yeah, but
Uh,
you just kind of it just it flits by your consciousness the
yeah.
first time you see it, but you don't focus in on it until later, and you're like, "Oh my god, oh
Yeah, it
my
just gives you that little unrest, like, it sort of sets you up to feel like something's wrong, like, you're absorbing all this stuff almost subconsciously, so you're just getting uneasy with the whole thing, like, "Something's off in this house, it's just not right."
god." I mean, it's like almost like the Disneyland Haunted Mansion, right? Like where
Yeah,
the eyes are watching you in the paintings and
so
stuff
funny,
like
I
that.
love that, I know, that's so good.
Yeah,
Uh,
Disney's coming out with a new Haunted Mansion. I saw the trailer of that recently when I went
yes.
to see Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's like, yeah, they're trying to because they've had this ride, for how many decades, right?
Oh,
And they're having to refresh it again for
yeah,
for young people to want to go to the
that's
Haunted
right.
Mansion ride, right? So they have to
Yeah.
make a new movie. you know?
I just, like I've been going to Disneyland my whole life, Disney World, Disneyland, and it was a kind of a bummer now to see the Pirates of the Caribbean with Johnny Depp in it. It's just kind of,
Mm,
eh. It just doesn't feel. It starts feeling kind of business like
mm.
popular movie, make it a ride. Like I don't know, it didn't have that same kind of quaint sincerity that the first one had, even though I understand the problems with the first one. But at the same time, it didn't need Johnny Depp in it. So then I'm worried, like, what are they gonna update? Because the Haunted Mansion is perfect. I mean, you do not need to change the Haunted Mansion by a lot. I mean, I've been to it when it was the, Halloween, dress
Mm.
up for Halloween, and that's really fun because they play the songs from the movie and all that, what's it called? Danny Elfman thing. So,
Yeah. Mhm.
that's really fun to see that, but it feels more like a kind of fun temporary gimmick, but to change it overall, like, please don't put Jamie Lee Curtis's face in there. We don't need that. Like, I wanna see it in the movie, but don't change the woman in the ball. She's great looking. I don't know. Things change, I know, and I love horror, and But that ride is near and dear to my heart. It was one of the few ones I can ride because I get motion sickness.
Well, some things like putting down something from Songs of the South. Okay, like
yeah,
let's think.
Goodbye.
Say
Songs
goodbye
of
to
the
that.
South needs to go away. Yeah, some things are not aging well.
Our viewers in India have no idea what we're talking about. You don't need to know. Let's just put it that way. Like,
just so you know that America has a terrible racist past, and we didn't notice it, especially when they're in beloved, amusement parks and movies, until all of a sudden you go, yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, Zippity Doo Dah is a good song, but
not good. Tar Baby, no. Yeah, just goodbye. And that ride will be great updated because it's kind of just it can be a trip down the river anywhere, a little trip. You can make it beautiful and fun and not racist. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yay, no racism in Disneyland. That'd be great. Do it.
Anyway, if viewers have other recommendations of horror films for Kathy, or
that we can I can force Melanie to watch, and then we can discuss them.
Or I haven't seen. I mean, I was looking how many of Vijay Sethupathi films have I seen, and there's still plenty that I haven't seen.
Great.
So any other, I think basically probably from Vikram Vedha. Oh, actually, I take that back. I was going to say I've seen every single one, but he's done quite a few cameos or special guest appearances in certain movies. So I probably haven't seen every single one that he's done since Vikram Vedha, but I've tried to get at least most of them down. But if there's another early one that I should revisit, that I should visit that I haven't yet, let me know. But I know I don't think I've ever done a review of pizza because, like I said, it's before I even had my channel. I think I did when I had my blog, I had a written review. We're talking olden days. So this was super fun to talk about this film together because it's so clever. It's so great. Such a great performance, too. So I'm glad you could join me for this. You can find Kathy, of course, on Cinemondo podcast. And she talks about Indian films and Hollywood films.
And horror films.
Horror films. And
Melanie's over there, too. She's guessing. You'll find us in both places.
And we do some videos on her channel as well. So definitely check that out. You can find me on Twitter at PardesiYT and on Instagram at Pardesi Reviews. And if you hit the bell here and when you subscribe, you'll never miss one of these fun videos. All right. Thanks, Kathy.